All systems go. Check it out.
You're listening to Fight Society with Damon Martin and Jeremy Lober.
Check it out.
Welcome back to Fight Society. Host the biggest fight ever. Would you say that? You think it's the biggest fight ever?
In terms of pay-per-view and attention, yeah. I mean, it's huge.
It's got to be. It's got to be, right?
Everyone was buzzing. I didn't go anywhere or see anything that wasn't about Mayweather-McGregor last week.
No, it's really difficult. And if somebody asked me one more time what I thought of the fight, I think I'm going to die. It's everywhere, man. It is everywhere. But you know what? I mean, we are here to talk about it. And the reason I didn't really want to answer a lot of people's because I wait to give the goods here to the people that tune in weekly to this show.
Yeah. So we're going to talk a lot of Mayweather-McGregor. We're going to talk to former UFC title contender Kenny Florian and coach Angelo Reyes, and they're going to break down some of the madness that happened with Mayweather-McGregor. Actually, one of the things that we're going to talk about with Angelo, he explains why Floyd was wearing the ski mask on Saturday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he explains that story. So.
Oh, I can't wait to hear that. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, he actually told me the story behind that because he was with Floyd in the last days of his camp and stuff, so he knew the story behind that. I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I never didn't see that one coming. So
there's been tons of stuff that's happened. You know, obviously, the fight itself, I think, surprised a lot of people. You know, the CompuBox numbers were through the roof for Conor, landing more shots than Manny Pacquiao did in 12 rounds, which is impressive.
Crazy when you think about it.
Nuts when you think about it. So what did you think about the stoppage? Did you think it was early? Did you think it was appropriate?
I thought it was appropriate. Conor was clearly exhausted. He wasn't fighting back, and he was just eating punches. I mean, he wasn't going down, but, you know, that's the thing with boxing that you have to be careful with, and that's why there's so much brain damage in boxing is because you take a lot more shots.
Let me go out of my shield.
You know, so it's like, you know, I'm okay with the stoppage because in more oftentimes than not in boxing, that's how the fights are stopped. You know what I mean? Like, you will occasionally see a guy get absolutely floored like Mike Tyson used to do to people when he would knock them, you know, into the middle of next week. But that's rarer in boxing, especially at the lighter weights, than it is, you know, in MMA where, you know, you see guys get absolutely slept with one punch and it's over. You know, it's accumulation of shots that get you in boxing typically. And so I was fine with the stoppage. He was exhausted. He wasn't fighting back. You know, he was just eating a lot of punches, and you know, I was fine with the stoppage. I didn't think it was like egregious or anything.
What about what did you think about like the style, man? I mean, I'll tell you what I thought is right from the beginning, man. I thought that the style that Conor McGregor brought was exactly what he was going to bring. That long karate stance. It was kind of cool to see. As myself being from a karate background, you always wonder how does that translate into in the boxing ring in that arena alone. You know, because people wanted to say he wasn't a high-level striker. Well, I got news for you, man. That's false, and I think we saw that. Of course, in the first few rounds, Floyd is downloading that information like we talked about over and over and over, and that's exactly what happened. I mean, he feels everybody out. But like it or not, he ate a huge uppercut.
He did.
And some other big lefts. I mean, there was a point where I remember turning to you during the fight, and I'm thinking, like, man, is he going to let Floyd get some in?
Yeah, he was landing a couple. He had a couple stiff jabs that snapped Mayweather's head back. Because I remember we were sitting there watching the fight, and I think the entire room, there was, 30 people in there. Everyone, when he was snapping his head back, everyone's like, ooh, like, because it was kind of surprising. You're just not used to Floyd really getting hit much, and he got hit.
My buddy Tom from Westside Barbell is from Kilkenny, Ireland, and he was there and knows a lot of people that knows Conor. And I mean, it was a crazy thing to watch. He goes, man, the whole country of Ireland is going to go bankrupt if this goes south. And you got to wonder, I didn't see any video, but like, what was the aftermath like after the fight? Like, what did you hear? As far as the fans go, I mean,
everyone was proud of what Conor did. He went out there and fought, and he put on a good show. He won. The judges in boxing were terrible.
What is that about?
That was some hot garbage. Hot garbage. I thought I scored Conor winning four rounds out of the 9, but I could see it being 6-3. There was one round that was really close. I think it was round 8 that was really close. And I said, I could see it being 6-3 Mayweather, but I had it 5-4. How you only give one round to Conor McGregor in the first round, 2 of the judges, is ridiculous. That was just awful scoring. Not only because Conor was winning the rounds, but in the first 3 rounds, Floyd didn't do anything. He was throwing like 5 punches a round. How do you win a round?
In the first round, he threw 1 punch, right?
Yeah, like how do you win a round if you're throwing 5 punches? I mean, that's just common sense. That's not even like me being a mixed martial arts homer. Like that's not even that. It's just the fact that like if you throw 5 punches in a round and your opponent throws a lot more and lands a lot more, that's pretty much science right there as to why he wins the round. But I had Conor winning 4 of the 9 rounds that they fought all the way through. And I said 3-6 I was fine with too. Conor has nothing to be ashamed of with that performance. If I had to criticize Conor's performance, I would say I think in the early going he went out there and tried to box Mayweather a little bit too much. He wasn't throwing a lot of power behind his punches. He was kind of, I feel like Conor was setting himself up in case he had to go 12 rounds, so he didn't want to overexert himself too much in those early rounds because he went after him. But if you notice, he didn't really cock back that left hand and really unleash it a lot in that first round.
And he's taking all kinds of heat for it, too. Oh, he doesn't have the punching power he said he had.
No, I think he was conserving his energy, and it backfired anyways, but I think that was my only criticism of him. I thought he should have gone out there and turned in a bit of more of a slugfest in the first couple of rounds because that's when he was at his freshest, but Conor has nothing to be ashamed of. He went nearly 10 rounds with one of the greatest boxers of all time, and credit to Floyd Mayweather for sticking out and saying doing what he said he was going to do when he said he was going to step forward, he was going to go for the knockout. Because guess what? Floyd Mayweather, for all his faults, for all these really defensive, masterminded fights that were boring as shit. I mean, you look at a lot of those fights, they were boring. Floyd could have fought that way against a lot of other guys. He could have fought that way against Andre Berto and won. He could have fought that way against a lot of guys, probably not against, Canelo Alvarez or probably Manny Pacquiao because they're such offensive fighters, so you have to play a little bit more defense. But he could have fought that style that he did against Conor against a lot of guys and won. He just took less risk because he didn't want to lose, and I understand that. I'm not faulting him for that. Like, he took less damage. He still won the fights. Most of them were blowouts. But he didn't want to put himself in a position where he would get hit. He put himself in a position to get hit, and Conor hit him. And then Floyd stuck to his guns, stepped forward, and knocked him out. I mean, it was everything that we could have wanted in that fight outside of, if you're a Conor supporter, knocking out Floyd Mayweather, which would have obviously been a huge moment. Outside of that, the fight played out better than anyone would have expected. It wasn't a lopsided fight. It wasn't like Conor didn't show up. It wasn't a boring fight because Floyd didn't step back and just do his shoulder roll and just play defense. It was a fun and enjoyable fight.
And we have some professional breakdown. Let's get to our first guest here, standing by.
Yeah, we're going to talk to Kenny Florian. He obviously works on the Fox desk, former 2-time title contender. Actually, you'll hear at the start of the interview, I said, have you ever talked about boxing more in these last 3 months than you have now? Because, like, as MMA guys, and Kenny is an MMA guy, as am I am an MMA guy, and as are you, our Loper. When you get to the point where you're just talking about boxing for like 3 months, you're like, can I talk about mixed martial arts again? I miss MMA.
It's funny. It's like I look forward to the next UFC pay-per-view like I used to, like back in the day. Thank you, boxing.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Kenny Florian breaking down what happened with Mayweather-McGregor on Saturday night. So obviously the fight went down on Saturday night. I know you talked. Let me before I even get started with the whole fight conversation, let me ask you this: have you talked about boxing more in your entire life than you have over these past few months?
Most likely. When I was a kid, I talked a lot of boxing with my dad. But other than that, yes, it has been pretty amazing how much boxing I've had to talk about.
So with that said, Kenny, you broke down the fight obviously on UFC Tonight. You talked about it on your podcast. But let me just ask kind of a generalized question. What did you think of the fight on Saturday night?
Listen, I thought that first of all, even before the fight, I thought there was very few people that could compete at the highest level in boxing. And certainly even fewer in and around the weight class of Floyd Mayweather who can compete and make it look good against someone like Floyd Mayweather. However, there is levels to this game, and there's certainly levels to the boxing game, and there's none higher than Floyd Mayweather. And the way I saw it go down, I saw Floyd Mayweather that was kind of allowing the fight to kind of extend a little bit, if you will. And I think when you're at the level of Floyd Mayweather, you can kind of take it easy against certain people, certainly against a guy who was in his first professional boxing fight. I think we need to remind ourselves that mixed martial arts is a very different game than boxing. Certainly the striking approach is very different. What is right for boxing is wrong for mixed martial arts and vice versa. So I thought that Conor did a great job. However, it was a playful Floyd. I think if he wanted to just turn it on right from the get-go, he could have in the early rounds. He didn't. A lot of people saying because he wanted to see Conor McGregor get tired. Yes, that was definitely part of the game plan. But I think another part of it was just Floyd wanted to extend the fight to make it a little bit more entertaining for the fans, in my opinion.
Yeah. Did Conor do anything in there that really impressed you?
You know, first of all, I thought he landed a beautiful uppercut. I think while Floyd maybe wanted to extend it a little bit, I don't think he wanted to get hit with any big shots. He definitely didn't want to get hurt during the fight. I thought that uppercut landed a few times very well for Conor. And I thought his movement was very interesting as well. Just the fact that he was able to go in there and stay as composed as he was in an arena that he was not familiar with on the biggest stage in combat sports history is unbelievable. And I'll tell you right now, this is going to be a Conor McGregor that is going to be that much more dangerous, and he's going to pull away from everyone else in the UFC because of the experience he gained against going what might be the best boxer in history. You know what I mean? And imagine the value and the experience that he's going to take away from seeing a guy that was as composed as someone like Floyd Mayweather. When you fight someone, you're able to pick up a lot of tricks, especially someone who stays as present and aware as Conor McGregor. And I think he's going to learn a great deal from this fight. And any fight going forward is probably going to feel like small potato.
Yeah, it's tough to downplay that considering the attention this fight had. I mean, at the end of the day, did the fight play out ultimately how you kind of thought it would? I mean, a lot of people felt like, as the fight wore on, Floyd would take over. I actually felt Conor tried to outbox Floyd a little bit early, which I think was a mistake because I thought, and you said this in the pre-fight, you can't outbox Floyd, you have to outfight Floyd. But did the fight play out ultimately any other different than what you expected?
No, I mean, I figured it would probably go down that way. And again, Floyd was pretty playful early on in the fight. I think that's also what allowed Conor to look pretty good. But, listen, I think Conor definitely has boxing skills. But again, boxing is just one of the many things that we do in mixed martial arts. So it's hard to go out there and beat someone in their specialized profession, especially one as good and as great as Floyd Mayweather. So I thought it was an awesome performance. I thought it was great from Conor. Again, I admire everything this guy has done in the sport. You won't find a bigger fan than Conor McGregor. But again, we need to remind ourselves, this is Floyd Mayweather that he was going against. And, I thought that he represented the sport of mixed martial arts extremely well, given everything that he was dealing with.
Yeah, considering how much attention was being paid to the fight, and we're talking about maybe 5 million pay-per-view buys, which is insane. When you think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, do you feel like the fight did pay? It did pay off, though. It did play out, in a way that we can all appreciate it. It wasn't a farce. It wasn't a sideshow. Ended up being a pretty good fight.
No, absolutely, and that's what it seems like both guys really wanted to deliver. One thing's for sure: anytime Conor McGregor fights, whether it's mixed or whatever, and I think that's another big reason why he is such a huge star. This is a guy who proves time and time again that he's out there to fight, and he's out there to pressure guys, and he's out there to win. So he has a style that has always been extremely exciting, and I think Floyd as well realized, hey, I'm going against a guy who, this is his first professional boxing fight. I need to make it entertaining. People are paying $100 for this. I'm going to walk away with around $300 million. Conor's going to walk away with around $100 million. Let's make this fun for the fans, and I think they accomplished that goal.
Yeah, absolutely. When you look at what Conor McGregor has done, I mean, there's all kinds of ways you could have looked at this fight. I mean, people said it was a chance for him to make a huge payday. It was a chance for him to get his name even bigger. But I thought that, ultimately the way it played out is he went in there, he fought his ass off, and he gave a good performance, and he got beat by one of the greatest of all time. And I don't think there's any shame in that. And I feel like, and see if you agree with me, Kenny, I feel like ultimately Conor McGregor still comes out a winner because I don't think anyone walked away from that fight thinking he's a lesser fighter or he went out there just got outclassed. Like, he made a good showing for himself.
No doubt about it. And listen, Floyd Mayweather, I don't care how much money he was going to make. I don't think he would have risked his career by coming over to mixed martial arts. So the fact that Conor McGregor was able to say, listen, I'm going to get out of my comfort zone in a big, big way, do this media tour, fight the best boxer ever in boxing, in his realm, and go out there and actually go out there to win, I thought was amazing, and it shows what kind of martial artist Conor McGregor is. I mean, to do that at his profile, I thought was admirable. It shows that this guy is a true martial artist, and again, he's going to come away an absolute beast heading forward in mixed martial arts. The experience that he gains, I think, is going to be huge. For that, he absolutely should be applauded big time.
Yeah. Let me ask you this question about the fight itself, Kenny. There was one part, and Conor addressed this after the fight. He mentioned how his cardio kind of failed him after round 6, and that's something that he's noticed in his mixed martial arts career as well. We saw it in the fight with Nate Diaz in the rematch where he started to kind of slow down. Now, he got a second wind out of that, but as a fighter yourself and a guy who has gone 5 rounds and gone into championship fights, I know you can't talk about Conor's physiology, what's going on inside his body, but what do you think that is? Because he's now said that is a real issue he needs to address.
Well, yeah, and first of all, you got to applaud him for being very candid in his assessment. I think that's why he's so good. But also, I think, listen, anytime you fight a guy at 170 pounds against someone who keeps a pace like Nate Diaz, you're going to get tired. It's just a 25-minute fight. So a lot of times, no matter what kind of conditioning you're in, you're going to get tired when you're in that kind of a fight. And I think we saw it against someone like Floyd Mayweather because it is simply not his domain. I mean, it's one thing to do 12 rounds in sparring. It's quite another to do it in a professional boxing match against the best ever. And that was my big concern. And a lot of it sometimes isn't even conditioning. A lot of it's that emotional attachment of not having been there before. I see it all the time in guys in the gym. Guys in the gym are doing 5 rounds. They're looking amazing. And then I go out and see them fight, and I go, what the hell happened? What you did 5 rounds. What's the big deal? It's the moment. The moment gets to be a little bit too big. And having not seen a professional boxer throw punches at you round after round after round, and then having it happen on fight night is a very different thing. Part of it's probably conditioning, but a lot of it is just not being familiar with the environment.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Kenny, put on your analyst hat for a second, because after the fight was over, Conor has said, he's not ready to address his future yet. He said that, he would like to, do boxing and mixed martial arts both. He was a little hesitant to commit to that a little bit more in the post-fight. But, as a guy who calls his fights, as a guy who knows his fights, what do you feel like is next for Conor McGregor? And should he test the waters in boxing again?
Well, listen, I think that Conor McGregor is a very smart businessman. I think that he's keeping his opportunities open. So I think he's being very careful of what he says. And I think he's going to be able to say, listen, to the UFC and to the boxing world, I can make money either way. I can make a lot of money either way. It's up to you on what you guys want to determine or what the fans maybe want to see. So I think he's really just keeping his options open more than anything else and being a smart businessman in what he says. But for me, if you're asking me, I think he needs to stick to the UFC. That's what he does best. And I think that he can create a similar legacy to what Floyd Mayweather did in boxing. He could do that very same thing in the UFC. He's an even bigger star now, but at the end of the day, he's got money for 3 lifetimes. I mean, does he want money for 5 lifetimes? And I don't fault him for that if he wants even more, but I think he's still a very passionate and talented mixed martial artist. That's what he does best, and that's what he should do. But it does get tricky when you think about it and you go, wait, listen, I might be able to make 40, 50 million fighting Paulie Malignaggi in a boxing match and maybe make 20 million fighting Nate Diaz in a trilogy fight. What would you do? I don't know. For me, I just don't want to see Conor McGregor in his second boxing match going up there with an 0-1 record. I just don't think that's a good look. I think this is one thing. You had nothing to lose fighting the best ever. At this point, I think this is where it's kind of that point of diminishing returns, and I think he should stick to what he does best, and that's, fighting in the UFC.
Yeah. So with that said, Kenny, put on your Joe Silva / Sean Shelby. I'm never going to let Joe Silva go, by the way. Sean Shelby, hat on for a second. You're playing matchmaker. Who does Conor fight next?
Well, I think it's pretty simple. I think the biggest fight out there right now is the Nate Diaz trilogy fight. I think that's the one they got to do. I think that's the biggest fight that could happen right now. I think you do that at 155 pounds for the belt against Nate Diaz. I think Nate Diaz is absolutely deserving of it. And just in hearing everybody talk about the fight, that's the one everyone wants to see. So I think that's the one you got to make. And if I'm able to look a little bit further ahead, there's this George St. Pierre guy out there as well, which I think would be an interesting fight for the fans as well, whether that's at maybe a catch weight of 165 or 170. I know Conor would probably be down for it, and I know George St. Pierre would be down for it as well.
Yeah, if we're ever going to get close enough to, I mean, listen, I understand, it's going to be a long time before we see those Mayweather-McGregor numbers again if we're talking about 5 million pay-per-views, but I don't think in our sport there could be a fight that would be any closer to that than GSP against Conor. Am I wrong? I mean, I don't know it's going to do 5 million, but I think it would be the biggest fight in mixed martial arts history.
I mean, without a doubt, especially, if George St. Pierre is able to pull off the win against Michael Bisping, I think that makes it even that much more interesting. But yeah, I mean, those are the two biggest pay-per-view draws, right? I mean, that would definitely be a super fight of epic proportions, and I think if the UFC is smart, that's the fight that they try to put together, and I think it would break all the records in the UFC.
Yeah, unless they can get GSP and Conor versus Brock Lesnar. That might be the only other way they could do it.
That's right. They should look into that. I like that idea too.
If you're Conor McGregor, and you come up with this fight, I mean, do you fight again in 2017? Because I know he said he wants to, but personally, I think he ends up taking the rest of the year off. I mean, listen, he's going to make a lot of money, and he didn't really get beat up in the fight. He had a little mouse under his eye, so I think he's okay. But I don't know. What do you think? Do you think he should take the rest of the year off, or do you think maybe he tries to book this Diaz rematch by the end of the year?
Well, the New York Times article, you'd think that he was on a hospital bed somewhere, recovering, all cut up, bloodied, and bruised. But yeah, no, I think that it's probably in his best interest to kind of wait a little bit. I think he needs to adjust back into mixed martial arts. So I think that kind of give his time and his body a little bit time to rest. It was an absolute whirlwind for him, I'm sure. So just kind of, a lot of it's more the mental break. There was a lot of craziness around this fight. So if he can kind of unwind a little bit, then kind of slowly go back into his mixed martial arts training, I think a fight maybe early next year makes a lot of sense. But, for me as a fan, I would love to see him tomorrow in a fight. But I think for his own sake, for his own career, it probably makes more sense for him to rest a little bit and fight early next year.
Yeah. Before I get you out here, Kenny, I want to ask your opinion on this, because throughout your career, you fought a lot of different guys. You fought guys who were quiet. You fought guys who trash talk. You faced it all, and you've seen it all. And then as an analyst, obviously, you've broken this all down. What do you make of some of the fighters, including Paulie Malignaggi, who have just gone on this offensive, kind of insulting Conor after the fight? We saw Jose Aldo put out that tweet of, the laughing faces, and I know Rafael Dos Anjos took a little shot at him. And then, obviously, Paulie Malignaggi has just kind of gone off for the last 2 days, just nonstop talking about Conor. What do you make of that? Because I think it's a little petty, in my opinion.
Oh, it's a lot of petty, I think. I think part of it is, listen, let's be honest, those guys want to fight with Conor, right? So if they can kind of, talk about Conor, it's to their best interest, I guess, business-wise. I don't like it, but I think those guys are trying to get a fight out of him, and they would make millions. I mean, Conor is your ticket to being rich and being memorable. So I think that's kind of their angle. As far as Jose Aldo, I mean, there's no way he's going to be able to get a fight against Conor again. He just lost to Max Holloway, a guy who Conor beat as well. So for him, again, realistically, does he think he's going to get a fight with Conor? Probably not. So why is he doing that? And Aldo's a very respectful guy, but I think that tweet just came off really badly. It just comes off as jealousy and envy and, bitterness. It's not a good look. Not a good look at all.
Yeah, I agree. Kenny, it is always a pleasure, my friend. I appreciate the time. Obviously, keep up the good work on UFC tonight. I look forward to hearing what you have to say about the fight on there as well. And I appreciate the time as always.
Thanks so much, man. Always a pleasure.
Talk to you soon, buddy.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
That is awesome, man. Kenny Florian right here, Fight Society Podcast. It's Loper and Damon Martin. Follow us on Twitter. Check us out on Instagram at Jeremy Loper, at Damon Martin, and you guys can hashtag Fight Society.
Make sure they follow you on Snapchat, too. Make sure you give out that name.
At Lope Ness, man. Somebody took my name.
That's my
Bastards.
favorite. That's my favorite. Lope Ness.
Yeah.
The Lope Ness monster.
Used to hit me with that in high school. Now, listen, man, the other night we had a great party at my house.
We did.
It was kind of like the first party I've had at my house, my new house, and everybody's having a good time.
You notice This is not a dig. This is just kind of funny. So we did the gathering at your house for the Bellator pay-per-view, and then we did the gathering for Mayweather-McGregor. I noticed a lot more people showed up for Mayweather-McGregor.
No offense, Bellator. Well, that was like the pre-run, because I knew I had that party coming up, but I was like, I should probably do like a little tester just to see like what I'm going to do here.
Yeah.
But you're not going to have those parties all the time. Those are fun, man. But the thing that I really enjoyed was apparently it wasn't so fun in person, but the TV aspect of it, they kept you entertained. They were showing different promos. And the Demi Lovato deal, man, she is so hot. I didn't realize how hot she was.
See, she's all right.
Are you kidding me? Nice, beautiful, thick. I love it, man.
And she's a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, listen, she's got a strong bottom game. No, I have no disrespect her at all. She's a tremendous talent.
I didn't know who she was going into it. Like, I knew the name. I'm not a moron. I knew the name. Like, I didn't know. I knew she was a singer. And that's how I knew her. I knew her because she dated Luke Rockhold, and then she dated another MMA fighter. I knew she was a big MMA fan. I know the name. I'm not stupid. I knew who Demi Lovato was, but I didn't know like what in my head, I didn't know, was she an actress? Was she a singer? Like, I didn't know. What I remembered about Demi Lovato, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, because I know you're her biographer.
Yes.
She was a Disney girl, right? Was she a Disney girl?
Yeah, she was like one of these young chicks.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. Okay, she was like a Disney girl. So that's how I knew her. It was like as
Disney.
A Disney girl. Yeah,
I was trying to decide if it was Disney or Nickelodeon, but
whatever.
She was
that. Yeah, okay.
I have kids, man. So I force fed all this crap, and then now they're like.
So I'm not wrong.
It's weird. Yeah, they're pop stars.
Okay, that's what I thought. I thought that's how I knew her. So, but anyways, I didn't really know her going into.
Yeah, she is delicious. And what about Imelda May? She is tremendous. The news chick on my radio show here in Columbus, Ohio, Kelly Quinn, she absolutely loves her. And it was so funny. She's like not one to stay up late ever. So her and her husband, right before the main event, bail. And I'm like, what? This is like what the party's for. And they leave. Wouldn't you know, her favorite artist performs the Irish national anthem. Now, that was the Irish national anthem, right?
Correct.
Okay. Game, set, match. That one was pretty cool. I got to be honest with you.
Yeah, the whole thing. I mean, there were a lot of issues with the pay-per-view as well. I mean, obviously, there's a class action lawsuit that's just been filed by people who weren't able to watch the pay-per-view online because the streaming was so bad, and they had to delay the main event because the pay-per-view issues. So there was a lot of issues in terms of that. But
you almost killed my party when you announced that. Like, you're like, yeah. So they're saying there's going to be some delays in the main event. Everybody's like, what? But it's because Floyd's awesome. Floyd heard that some of the markets were out, and he said, hey, listen.
Well, I don't think he did it out of the kindness of his heart. I think he did it out of the kindness of his wallet.
But also, I mean, if you are, a business guy, you're going to know that you're not going to get those buys.
Yeah,
in
but
markets,
the pay-per-view, I thought the fight was fun, and the pay-per-view did well. I mean, listen, I'll be the first one to admit I'm a huge Mauro Ranallo fan. I thought he did a fantastic job. Al Bernstein does a great job. Paulie Malignaggi, I thought, called the fight very well. Afterwards, he hasn't exactly conducted himself in a way that I've been super excited about.
Yeah,
but
what's his deal, man? He's been tweeting all kinds of crazy stuff. Like, I mean, he's really pushing for this fight that's never going to happen. Let's just be honest. Conor will never box again.
Well, our next guest.
Why would he?
Yeah, our next guest coming up in a minute. Angelo Reyes knows Paulie very well, trains with him, and I asked him that. And I don't begrudge anyone that likes Paulie. I don't dislike Paulie. I don't know the guy. I actually tried to get him on our podcast before the fight, and we never were able to schedule it. And then after the fight, I put out a tweet on Sunday, and I said, I'm so excited to talk about Conor's next MMA fight and let Paulie Malignaggi kind of fade back into obscurity, because I knew the name Paulie Malignaggi. I watch boxing. I'm not stupid, but Paulie was never a superstar. Paulie was never, yes, he was a champion, two-division champion, but he was never Canelo. He was never Mayweather. He was never Triple G. He was always kind of like that. He was a guy, and this is not insulting him. I'm just being honest. He was the guy who was the champion, and then when he fought the really good guys like Danny Garcia, Amir Khan, those guys beat him. You know what I mean? Like, he was a good guy, but when he got to the upper level competition, he got beat. Now, there's no shame in that, because a lot of people can't even get to those fights. But he was never a superstar, and so like, he's a great commentator. He's a phenomenal analyst. It's kind of, here, a perfect example, a guy who just left the UFC, who I'm going to miss tremendously, is Brian Stann. Brian Stann was a WEC champion, but he was never a champion in the UFC. Great, good fighter, very serviceable guy. But he really found a way to shine on the microphone afterwards. Now, that's not an insult to Brian Stann. That's just saying that he was never a champion in the UFC. That's just facts. Paulie Malignaggi was a champion, but he was never a superstar boxer, in my opinion. But he's a great commentator. So he did a great job calling the fights on Saturday night. Afterwards, though, he's just continuing to press that button and insulting Conor. And then yesterday he says, I want to fight him in a real fight. And I jokingly put out a tweet and everyone thinks it's real. But I said, oh, Paulie wants to fight Conor in a real fight, quote unquote. I guess that means he's coming to MMA because a real fight is MMA. No offense to boxing.
Yeah, I mean, so to speak. I mean, a real fight.
As close as you're going to get to a real fight is MMA.
Yeah, right.
Now, Paulie Malignaggi.
No chance he comes to.
He would last 90 seconds.
I mean, is there any word? Has he got money issues? Like, what's his deal?
No,
like, edging for this fight? He wants a boxing.
He never had a big payday fight. Look at his record. He fought a lot of guys that were good. He fought Adrian Broner, is probably the biggest biggest win of his career.
Yeah, right. We fought Floyd, right?
No. He never got to that point. He beat Broner, which was definitely the biggest win of his career. He's not hurting. I don't think he's hurting for money, but the temptation of fighting Conor and getting a 25 or a 30 or $40 million payday potentially, I get it. I don't fault him for that.
Was it Adrian Broner? Was that the fight that he had with the girlfriend thing? Like where he was like, someone was taking a side piece.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah.
See that Paulie Malignaggi, kind of funny when he was like, because that was also the time of like Jersey Shore. It was right around the same time, so he kind of had this guy, sort of a heel if you want to look at him that way.
Brooklyn guy,
yeah, but if you want to like him, he's kind of funny, whatever. Yeah. This not funny at all. It just makes you look. It makes you look small, dude. Like
it makes you look desperate.
And most people don't even know you. So like, no offense, but like, this is the impression you're making on people, that you're like trying to position yourself in the middle of somebody else's fight to get your own fight. That's never going to happen.
Like if you're Conor McGregor and you fought Floyd Mayweather, who is the best boxer of this era, fighting anybody else in boxing is going to be a step down. Now, that doesn't mean he can't win, or that doesn't mean he can't set that up. But if you're Conor McGregor and you just had the biggest fight of all time, it's going to do, if it does 5 million buys, which is ridiculous. In boxing, what else are you going to get?
Yeah.
Are you going to fight Triple G, who is a freaking killer knockout artist and a legit 154-pound fighter, and go out there and get your head knocked into the third row? Yeah, you'll make more money, but you're also going to lose face in that fight. Triple G is going to knock your face off. That's not the risk you're running against the Mayweather, no offense. And Triple G's not a star. He's about to make some real money for his fight with Canelo in 3 weeks.
He's the best in boxing.
Him and Canelo, they're both.
Do you think he smashes Canelo?
I think he's going to knock him out.
I do too. I think he smashes.
But what are you gaining
from that? No offense to Canelo Alvarez. I mean, I think he's a tremendous fighter, but I mean, I think that Triple G's the truth.
But what are you gaining from fighting either one of those guys?
Nothing. I think the whole. That's what I think people are missing. The whole aspect of this fight that was fun is it was like the old UFC days. What if? Yeah. What if an elite striker in MMA went to boxing? And whoa, can he fight the greatest guy ever? Really? Yeah. Can that happen? Okay, cool. That seems like it's about to happen. And then they put it together, and then, everybody's kind of got a naysay, but everybody deep down really wants it to be an amazing fight. And, wouldn't it be cool if, do you think Conor might actually have a chance? Then more people say he has a chance. It gets more exciting. You hear things. Floyd's not training. Floyd's this, and 40, and then you watch the fight, and you think, right before it happens, you're like, man, it's probably just not even going to pay off. But it'll be cool anyway. Then it turns out to be fucking amazing. Conor, I mean, it really was a back and forth. A lot of people are trying to grandstand a little bit and say that Floyd obviously had a plan. Duh. Everybody has a plan, man. Come on. Everybody on the undercard had a plan. It's how well do you execute that plan? And Floyd did a masterful job at executing a plan. But in the process, there were some scary moments for Team Mayweather.
Yeah, he got hit. No one walks into a game plan and loses rounds. And I understand Floyd. That's why I said Conor's best chance was in the early rounds, because that's typically when Floyd is warming up, getting his opponent's timing down. That's what Floyd does. He's a master. He's one of the best ever for a reason. But the reason I said that when you set up that game plan, it's still dangerous because guess what? Conor hits hard, and Floyd didn't want to get hit, and he got hit. So that's why I said the whole idea that Mayweather let him win those rounds. No one lets you win rounds if you're in boxing or mixed martial arts. You don't just concede rounds. You don't just say, "Oh, I'll take a couple punches." Come on now. You know what I mean? So you're just trying to discredit Conor for no reason.
Do you think Imelda May won the national anthem contest? That was a terrible version.
I was going to say, what is this?
Oh, God, this is like somebody like outside filming.
It sounds like the 40s.
I'm not even going to do that to our listeners.
I liked her version.
I think it's so cool, man. The Irish national anthem. Shout out to all our Irish listeners, man. Thank you so much, everybody who came to the United States to watch this fight. Thank you so much, and you're so kind to visit and come back anytime, man. Those fans are.
Come back anytime.
I know. I feel like, come on back to the house.
Come on back down.
Hey, you ain't got to rush off. Where you going?
Where you going back home? Come back here to America.
More people in Michigan than Ireland.
Huh?
I think there's more people in Michigan than Ireland.
Maybe.
It's bigger. That's weird.
I have some friends in Ireland, and my buddy Niall, I always talk to him, and we always joke because I talk about how I drive to a lot of events. Like I'm driving to Pittsburgh next month for Rockhold and David Branch. Pittsburgh's 3 hours away. That's a short car trip in the Midwest. When you say that, I said it to him, and he's in Ireland, he's like, my God, you can drive across the entire country of Ireland in 3 hours.
That's wild,
You know what I mean?
right?
When you think about how small it actually is, you know what I mean? He's
That is crazy.
you can drive, I think he said you can drive from one end to the other in 5 hours, from Belfast all the way down.
Well, that's like the old thing, when you meet somebody, somebody's like, hey, man, from Jamaica. And you're like, oh, dude, Usain Bolt, Bob Marley. You start naming all these people, and they're like, okay, guy, it's a pretty, decent sized country. We just don't know each other. But maybe that's possible in Ireland.
It's small. It's a small country.
Jamaica was a terrible example.
But think about the influence that Ireland's had. Look at the influence Ireland's had. I'm Irish. I mean, my family's Irish.
Yeah,
so.
Found out I'm a lot Irish. I took the ancestry. I always thought I was Native American. Not ever. I'm so European, it's ridiculous.
Aren't you Eastern European too?
It turns out that I'm Viking, but it turns out that there's a concentration of people from my family that are from exactly where the Mayflower left, and I'm early settlers to Appalachia.
Look at you.
Yeah, look at me. I thought I was Native American. Other side. Sorry.
You've been supporting the wrong team this entire time.
That's I'm a Dolphin fan. Hey, guy, you know what? You're actually a Jet fan. Are you serious? Oh, my God.
Your whole life. It's ruined.
If I was a Jet fan. This I took a little better, obviously. English and Irish.
You already got it pretty tough being a Dolphins fan.
Yeah, some German, but Viking a lot. I like that.
A lot of Vikings.
Yeah, so I'm going to watch that show now, Vikings. I haven't watched that yet.
Your cousin's on there?
Hey, that's cousin whoever, the Avenger. Did they all have cool names? Do you watch that show or
no,
what?
I never watched it.
I
heard
why?
It's good.
Why don't you watch it?
I just never got into it. Everyone that tells me, because I love Game of Thrones, tells me I should watch Vikings, but I've never watched it, so...
Even my father-in-law's on that, and I'm not on that. It's weird. Yeah, so, all right, so you mentioned Luke Rockhold and David Branch. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, coming up in September in about 3 weeks' time. It's the weekend after we got... I'm trying to think. We got this weekend, we got Stefan Struve and Alexander Volkov in the Netherlands. Then we move on to UFC 215, which is Demetrius Johnson, Ray Borg, Valentina Shevchenko, and Amanda Nunes. And then the weekend after that is Rockhold.
I love that we get back into boom, 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 fight. Because it really, we kind of took off the whole month of August.
Rockhold branches on the same night as Triple G and Canelo, which is kind of a heartbreaker.
Well, that's cool. So if you're in the Columbus area, come party with us. We're going to be right here. I'll give you the address here in just a few minutes, but it's a place on Cleveland Avenue. It's a very nice place. Are you going to join me there, Damon?
I'll be in Pittsburgh.
Oh, it's disappointing.
Yeah, I'll be in Pittsburgh. Otherwise, I would. The establishment is rather nice.
My name's on the billboard out there, as you can see when you pull up, man. So, yeah, if you guys want to check it out, if you guys go to my Twitter, I tweet out where we're going to be and all the parties that we're going to have. right here in Columbus. You know, obviously you got to be in the Columbus, Ohio area, but if you find yourself and you want to party, fight society, I'll get you in absolutely free. How about that?
There you go.
And I should do because we do this UGNO party. It's called Ultimate Guys Night Out. And basically certain people win for them and a friend a night of like ultimate partying with me and all of my friends in like a private suite inside the strip club. And they get all the drinks are free. All the food is free. And we just hang out and watch the fights. So the cool thing is I could for sure get them to show the Canelo Triple G fight and the UFC fights that night.
I kind of feel like maybe I should not go to Pittsburgh and just stay and watch that.
You can see everything, right?
I know, that's what I'm saying. I can see the whole thing.
It is a good time.
Sounds like it.
I mean, I hate to brag a little bit, but it is probably the best time you're going to have. Definitely in the Midwest, that's for sure.
Definitely in the Midwest. You're not going to have a better time anywhere in the Midwest.
I mean, watching fights? I mean, so the place is called Sirens, all right? That's all you need to know. Sirens on Cleveland Avenue in Columbus, Ohio. Any of the UFC pay-per-views, I'm always there. So if you guys want to stop by.
Yeah, but before we get to the rest of the UFC stuff, because we are getting back into fighting. We are getting back into MMA, which I'm very excited about.
Yeah, let's take care of this this last interview with Mayweather-McGregor.
Yeah, we're going to talk to Coach Angelo Reyes, of course. He came up under Coach Freddie Roach. He works with Frank Mir, who a lot of people know he's his boxing coach, and he worked with Jessica Andrade, just some other people. But we had him on before the fight. Now we're going to talk to him after the fight, and it's pretty clear he would like to see a Conor McGregor-Paulie Malignaggi fight, but he also explains, as I teased earlier, he tells why Floyd Mayweather wore the ski mask to the ring, which I thought was rather interesting. I had not heard that story, so we'll let Coach Angelo Reyes tell us that story. With everything unfolding over the weekend with Mayweather-McGregor, we talked to him before the fight. We got to have him on after the fight. He's one of my favorite people in sport, one of the best coaches in sport. Welcome back to the show today, Angelo Reyes. Coach, let me just start off by asking the very big obvious question. What did you think of Mayweather-McGregor now that it's all said and done?
I thought it was fantastic. It worth every penny. I believe that Mayweather, he delivered on his promise. He said he was going to go toe-to-toe. He said he was going to come forward. McGregor went out there and did try to knock Floyd out, so neither guy really lied. And, $100, man, again, if you were upset, if you're a fight fan, period, the undercard was solid. You got to see Badou Jack win a world title against Nathan Cleverly. That was a very good fight. You got to see Gervonta Davis, Andrew Tabiti, Steve Cunningham. But Mayweather-McGregor, if all you cared about was the main event, guys, what more do you want? You wanted an action fight. You wanted to see drama. You wanted your heart to race and wonder, could this guy do it? Could the unicorn pull it off? And, at the end of the day, all of us, Damon, as you know, who have stayed the course and has said there's no way McGregor would stand a chance, what we saw is exactly what we knew was going to happen. And you remember, I even talked to you, I believe, after I'd seen Paulie Malignaggi, and that's why my official prediction when it went on Yahoo Sports was, I listened to everything that Paulie told me that happened in sparring. So I thought it would be an 8th round TKO for Floyd, but it happened exactly the way I had described it, and it happened exactly the way Paulie kind of explained it to me too. So, when you have the insider information and you kind of know what was going on, it's hard. It's easy to get caught up in what some people may think, but if you don't know boxing, then you won't understand why that was such an easy fight for Floyd. And by the way, Damon, can I ask you, do you even know why Floyd wore the ski mask to the fight? Did you research why he did it?
I did not, so please inform me on this one.
Okay, so if you guys go to FightHype.com, Ben Thompson, he always gets all of the raw exclusives of Floyd Mayweather. At the end, Floyd explains it, but it's pretty self-explanatory. To us in the boxing culture, we were kind of laughing about it because it's Floyd Mayweather's kind of ode to like the Dead Presidents, the movie Dead Presidents, where he put the ski mask on because it's a bank robbery. Basically he was saying it's a heist. Like Conor actually believed that he could beat Floyd Mayweather, and all that happened is he got fooled into the biggest pay-per-view in the biggest payday and money-making opportunity of all time. So, that's why he put on the ski mask, which I thought was pretty awesome, man. That was really awesome. But yeah, no, I mean, Conor tried, Damon. No one of it. Like, are you kind of in the same sentiment that a lot of people are? Well, Conor did better than what he expected. What do you think of it?
Yeah, I mean, I think Conor did a lot better than most people expected him to do. He went out there and went for it. You know what I mean? He switched stances. He landed some good jabs. He had a good uppercut. And yeah, I mean, I just talked to Kenny Florian earlier today about this, and he had mentioned that he thought Floyd kind of this sounds terrible. Kind of took it easy on Conor in the first few rounds, kind of left the openings. But listen, it's a fight, and just like anything else, you don't really let anyone. You don't want to let someone hit you. No matter what you're doing, you don't want to let someone hit you. And Conor landed a couple decent punches, I mean, listen, man, I've watched Floyd for many years, especially since the De La Hoya fight, and that guy just doesn't get hit very often. I mean, I remember sitting and watching him get rattled a little bit by Shane Mosley, and everyone freaked out because that's like the hardest we've seen Floyd get hit in like 10 years. So I thought Conor did well, considering, listen, the odds were against him. The guy went out there and fought. I think the one thing we learned about Conor McGregor in that fight is it wasn't just a payday. He went out there trying to win, and I think that's admirable.
Yeah, no, I mean, and the hard thing about that statement, Damon, and again, and for a fact, my friend, I catch a lot of hate from a lot of trollers out there when all I'm doing is I'm actually just telling you facts. You got to know your facts. And, here's a fact. Here's what everyone got to see. You saw a 40-year-old man fight a 29-year-old man, a man who's past his peak and prime, to his own admission, at 40, and a man who's at his peak and at his prime in the sport of MMA. You saw a smaller man, and that's clear. That's evidently clear when you watch it on TV. Floyd weighed in at 149, but he probably literally weighed in 150 on fight night, versus Conor probably was closer to 170, maybe even a little over 170. So you saw a height difference. And what you saw is exactly what we in the boxing world have been saying this whole time. Size, none of that really matters unless the skill is there. And Conor just does not have the boxing skills developed yet to have been able to do this monumental task. Do I believe Conor's a good athlete and he can learn? Absolutely. But from the beginning, Damon, it's not like I was just saying it this year. I've been saying it, and I've been catching a lot of hate for it from the beginning when they asked me, what do you think of Conor McGregor? And I would always say, Conor McGregor's best attributes in MMA is not his boxing. His boxing actually needs a lot of work. What his best attribute is his ability to free flow with his karate. And because he can throw those kicks, the kicks that don't look so hard, but they actually are. And I know because I'm from the karate background, so I know when Conor's throwing that front kick and those spin kicks, those are hurting his opponents, and it's making his opponents drop their hands down. So then it's a lot easier for this massive man in Conor McGregor to be able to hit them with his hands and knock them out. Well, this isn't MMA. This is boxing. And just like if you were to jump in the mat and do gi grappling and then no gi grappling, and there's a difference between the two, boxing is different than boxing in MMA. And you remember, Damon, I told you this. We've had this conversation even off air before. I'm so happy this fight got made because I am tired of being in the MMA industry where everybody seems to think that MMA boxing and boxing is the same. It's not. And even with Frank, I had to actually bring him into the boxing world, kind of show him that world, explain it to him. And then we went ahead and free-flowed and played with it and started playing with it again with this karate. And, I had to start with a base, and then once you got the boxing base, then we went back to, okay, now here's how we're going to use it all for MMA. And here's how you're going to do this, and here's how you're going to do that. Now, one thing that Conor said that is very important that people should just remember, this is just a fact. He went on the Conan O'Brien show, and he said, there's many ways you can beat Floyd Mayweather, but boxing is not one of them. So what did Conor do, Damien? He stuck with his MMA coaches. He went in there with an MMA game plan, and he tried MMA moves to try to beat Floyd Mayweather in a boxing match. And what did we just see? Guess what, Conor? You're wrong. none of your techniques would have worked anyways. Floyd pretty much showed you one move and knocked you out doing it that way. That's just facts. Those are just truths. Hate on what I'm saying all you want. Those are just facts, and those are just the truth. And at the end of the day, if Conor actually wants to go back to boxing again, which I think he should, I really liked how he got the fans involved, and he's a good pay-per-view draw, and I think he should stick to boxing, man. I think he'll make more money in boxing than he would in MMA at this point anyways. But I think he should actually get real boxing trainers to show him and teach him. Maybe ask Barry McGuigan to help him out. Maybe ask Shane McGuigan to help him out. Someone in the UK or whoever. Maybe even finally now, humble yourself and call a Freddie Roach and see, go ahead and pay his rates and see if maybe Freddie can help you out. But I think the next great match for Conor McGregor to test himself out in boxing again is Paulie Malignaggi. Paulie, again, is retired. He's at the tail end. He's already past it. He's been broadcasting this whole time. We know what Paulie brings to the table as a boxer. So if Conor really humbles himself and learns the craft and the art of boxing instead of always saying it's this limited art. I mean, he just found out how it's not limited. In fact, there's so many different ways to beat you in boxing. What Floyd just did is he showed you one way, and he beat you in one way. Just to end on this point, because I know I'm kind of ranting a little bit, Damon, but I said before, Floyd Mayweather is like Greg Maddox. He has many different pitches to strike you out. In this particular fight, he felt so confident that Conor doesn't know how to hit a fastball, that just like Greg Maddox, who was only throwing 88 miles to 90 miles an hour as a fastball, he decided to throw 9 innings with just one fastball and just say, nope, I'm throwing a fastball, go ahead and try to hit it. I'm throwing a fastball, go ahead and try to hit it. And the one chance Conor had was when he threw that first uppercut in the first round to show his quote-unquote Mystic Mac power. And what did Floyd do? Floyd got hit. Floyd kept coming forward. Floyd did exactly what he said he was going to do. He's going to walk him down. He's going to work the body. He's going to punish him, and then he's going to knock him out. And Conor would have ended up on his back if he'd have just kept throwing punches. But he went for a full minute not throwing any punches at all. So of course Robert Burke had to stop the fight.
Yeah. Let me ask you, because it's not your job, Angelo, to defend or talk about, I'm not going to make you sound like you're the representative of Paulie Malignaggi, but I complimented Paulie on Saturday night, and I said, when he was calling the broadcast, he did a great job. I was one of the people calling for him not to work the broadcast. I thought at some point it went a little overboard when he was confronting him during press week and stuff. I said, you know what? That's when you start crossing the line of being involved in the broadcast. But to his credit, Paulie did an amazing job in the broadcast. He's a great analyst. I think he does a fantastic job and always has. I think he's really found his place doing that. He's a 2-time world champion, but I think he maybe even a better analyst than he was a boxer. He does a tremendous job. But after the fight, he's kind of continued on Twitter and, basically, calling Conor words and calling him out. And I understand he's trying to land a fight, but is there a certain point where it's like you have to kind of cut it off and say, like, because it's like he was being genuine on the broadcast, but now he's saying all these things about Conor again. Like, which way are we leaning here?
No, here's the thing. Let me just explain this to people, because I do know Paulie, guys. And here's the thing. There's nothing ungenuine about Paulie. Everything that he's doing is 100% genuine. So this, again, goes to this new MMA fan base who just turned on a boxing pay-per-view and is watching this. They're like sitting there going, Paulie this. Or even like you, Damon, like, when you were saying, I don't think you should do a broadcast. Here's the thing. If you just know the history of what Paulie has done, Paulie had a beef with Adrian freaking Broner. Paulie was the champion. Broner took the belts from him. Then Medina took the belt from Broner, and then Medina got to fight Floyd. So as Paulie won that split decision against Broner, he'd be fighting Floyd. So you want to talk about beef and losing money and all of that, you would sit there and go, oh, man, Paulie's got a huge beef with Broner. Well, maybe he shouldn't call a Broner fight. Well, guess what he did, Damien? He calls a Broner fight like a few months later, called it perfectly down the middle professional. Because that is what Paulie does. He is a professional. And this is actually what, when I said on Junkie, and on MMA Junkie, quit lying, Connor. I felt like Conor wasn't being a professional. Look, man, don't go out there and tell people that you had Paulie concussed when I just saw the man and he wasn't concussed. Like, just don't lie. Just don't lie. Like, it's okay. It's okay to not say anything. It's okay to say no comment. But when you flat out start lying to people, that's unprofessional. And Paulie not once, Damon, this whole time hasn't lied. When the job was done, and he called it straight down the middle, and we can even right now talk about the telecast, Damon, that Paulie called it straight down the middle. I kind of felt like it was a little pro Conor on the other side. Like, Paulie was just calling it straight down the middle, and now as soon as the fight is over, Paulie realistically has beef with Conor. It has nothing to do with wanting a fight or not with Conor. He just wants to punch Conor in the mouth, and that's why he's already said, I'll do it on a winner-take-all, because I just want to fucking punch you in the mouth. I'm tired of you, Conor. You treated me like a punk. You sat there and you put me in a crack house. You didn't give me any respect. I beat your ass for 12 rounds, on our sparring. And now it's a real beef, which is why I'm sitting there going, this is what we look for in boxing. This is actually the pay-per-view fight we look for in boxing. Someone who has a real beef with someone else, and they really don't like each other. They don't get along. They're not going to be friends. Great. Now you let the promoters and the managers handle it. Because Barclays Center, March, St. Patrick's Day would be a bigger payday for Conor McGregor against Paulie Malignaggi, because this hate is real between Paulie and Conor. It's a bigger payday for Conor. It'll be okay. I mean, it's not like Paulie hasn't made a lot of money. He made money on the Hatton fight. So he'll probably make a pretty good amount, but I definitely think that Conor is getting paid more money to fight someone like Malignaggi in a boxing match on pay-per-view cuts than he would fighting a Ferguson or a Khabib or a Kevin Lee, because, respect to all those guys in MMA, but the biggest other name in MMA in that 155 branch is Nate Diaz, who choked out Conor McGregor. So, unless you want to pay Nate a whole lot of money, Damon, I really think that Conor should just stick to the boxing. And let me say this last thing about that, too. You have to remember that it's very difficult to already convert into boxing. And Conor, it was trying. He conditioned himself. He went in that groove. I actually think it's more dangerous for him to go back to MMA in December, because it's going to take some time for him to get his MMA timing back. So it's actually better for him to just continue the boxing timing, get better into boxing. He said he had a good time in it. Well, great. Take a break. Start training again around maybe October. Get ready for a March fight around January, right after the New Year. Do a training camp. St. Patrick's Day, Barclays Center, Malignaggi, McGregor, Malignaggi, however you want to call it. But I think that Zuffa Boxing can get involved, Dana White can get involved, Lorenzo Fertitta can get involved. You already saw Dana White say it was a pure pleasure to work with Al Heyman. Well, guess who does the negotiating for Paulie Malignaggi's boxing matches? Al Heyman. So, pretty easy. This is pretty easy. I don't know why people are telling me that fight's not going to happen, when actually if Conor wants to make an easier or a better money against an opponent who's already retired, and he isn't. I mean, Paulie Malignaggi will admit to you, Damien, he's not Floyd Mayweather. So wouldn't you be a little bit compelled to find out, wow, with this real beef, and maybe you don't like Paulie, maybe you do like Paulie, but you want to see Conor beat him up? Like, I think that makes more money on a pay-per-view scale. What do you think?
I think it'd make a lot of money, and to that point, you said he works with Al Heyman, but he's not under contract to a different promoter, so I think Zuffa Boxing, Dana was teasing that last week, and, wearing the T-shirt and all that stuff during the media tour. It would absolutely be huge. I think Conor fighting Nate Diaz does make a lot of sense, because it would be a big fight, and obviously it's the biggest fight the UFC could do right now. But I don't disagree at all. Listen, I've had my opinions about Paulie and Conor throughout this entire thing, but at the end of the day, can I lie and say it wouldn't be a huge fight? Yeah, it'd absolutely be a huge fight, and they both probably make a lot more money, assuming that it was promoted as a boxing match. I'm sure Conor and Paulie would both, make a lot more money than Conor would against Nate Diaz. That's just the nature of boxing business versus MMA, and that's not a knock on MMA, by the way. That's just how it works right now.
Right. And here's the thing, too, that when people say, like I was the first one to say, making Mayweather-McGregor was going to be easy, and it's just like what Dana said, it was easy. Making McGregor-Malignaggi would be easy, and I'll tell you why. It's because Paulie just wants to beat his ass. It has, like right now, Paulie will take B-side money. It doesn't fucking matter. Paulie just wants to beat his ass because Paulie 100% believes he will stop Conor McGregor. Everything that Paulie told me in private before we even went public with it is exactly what we saw on Saturday night. So the fact that Paulie Malignaggi, who was at his best at 140, he became so great at his skill of boxing that his jab was so clear and his positioning is so good that he was able to win the 147 championship against Shevchenko as the opponent going to Shevchenko's country. Paulie is, we already know how amazing of a boxer Paulie is, but we also know that Paulie's not a power puncher. We know that. I mean, again, we don't even hide behind it. So the fact that Paulie Malignaggi is sitting there saying, I will stop Conor McGregor. Well, don't we want to see, is Conor going to be able to stop Paulie and actually show us that he can humble himself to really learn the art of boxing? Or is he going to remain cocky and think that his way is the right way when he can actually get real boxing trainers and train them? Then, is Paulie at his retired state now? He's going to be 37 already. Can Paulie do the impossible? Or right now I know that the Vegas betting odds say it's Paulie minus 180, Conor plus 160. So, man, I mean, again, people are already talking about it. Let's just make it happen, baby. Make it happen.
Let me ask you this, Angelo, kind of moving away from that into another aspect of boxing. We've heard, there were a lot of people who were on board with this fight. There were a lot of people who were not. You're a guy who's been around the sport for a long time, so you know it. What did you think of Oscar De La Hoya's comments when he dropped that tweet on Saturday, the big FU towards, the fight and, kind of degraded. And he's had some words about that before. I don't know if you know Oscar very well, but I'm just kind of curious your thoughts on that whole thing with one guy just kind of insulting the idea that this fight was even happening.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's just sad, man. That's just sad. Like, look, guys, don't hate on other people's success. Just, like I on CageSiders.com, I sat there on the post-fight and I said, congratulations to you, Conor. Please take a break. You and your family have made a lot of money now. Please take the rest. Congratulations on making this event happen. For someone like Oscar to be, pretty much, I mean, it's a jerk move. It's an ass move because people like me were going to buy Canelo Triple G anyways. Hardcore fans were going to watch Canelo Triple G anyways. It's already a sold out event. I mean, Jesus, man, you don't need to whore yourself around and tag your name to Mayweather-McGregor by saying something stupid like that. But maybe he did it as a PR move. I know that one of the funny images I saw was somebody put out a picture meme of Floyd laughing and Conor laughing, and then it showed the tweet that Oscar did, fuck you or something like that. You're a disgrace to boxing. And then next to Conor and Floyd's face laughing, it showed a picture of Oscar wearing the lingerie fishnet stockings with the gloves and the heels. And I mean, I think again, it's no disrespect. That's more of like a, hey man, here you are. You've been known to take cocaine and you've been known to have to go to rehab. Don't talk about disgracing the sport of boxing when really, dude, just stay in your lane. Like, you don't have to do that. And I think that's why Dana White gets on Bob Arum all the time too, is because, Bob's making money, man. Bob's made so much money. What the hell does he care? I just think that Bob is so old. He actually doesn't care. He's like, I'm an old man, and I'm going to say what I want. And, that's fine. But, yeah, Oscar's younger. He should know better. But, he did what he did. And now we're going to get to see Triple G Canelo. I don't agree with what Oscar did. But, hey, whatever, man. I mean, like I said, I don't agree with what Conor did. I didn't agree with Conor lying about things. So it's the same thing. But definitely Oscar didn't do a service to himself. I think that in general, the boxing community is very happy. They're very happy with Floyd. They're very happy, actually, that Floyd got to end the career the way he wanted to end it. Just think about it. You said yourself, Damien, you've been watching Floyd since that De La Hoya fight, right? So have you ever seen a crowd so happy and cheering when Floyd knocked him out and, Floyd got to have the swan song? And it's like, I believe that what this did was it put boxing and MMA in the mainstream. And that's what we want. We want more Super Bowl type fights that regular people at Starbucks will talk about, MMA or boxing. And as much as I wish people are going to talk about Tony Ferguson versus Conor McGregor at a Starbucks, they won't. But they will talk about Conor McGregor. And they will talk about Floyd Mayweather. And now that Paulie Malignaggi got to be so mainstream, they will talk about the Italian kid who talks a lot of shit. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to do that. Like, now mainstream public can get pulled in. So I hope that if Conor does go back to MMA, don't hate on him, guys. You know, I mean, he did something really cool. But I will say that I still think Nate Diaz won the second fight anyways, and if he were to fight Nate Diaz on a third fight, I think it would be very, very dangerous for Conor. And what I'm actually afraid for Conor is, let's say Damian, he loses to Nate Diaz in December. Now what's Conor's legacy? I mean, what's Conor's legacy now? You know, versus if Conor just goes back to boxing again, maybe he wins, maybe he loses to Paulie, but hey, you know, at least he's keeping the MMA name out there still. He's still the two-time champion. He's still the Mystic Mac. He's still doing all of that. So, but yeah. Hopefully, if Conor keeps going the way he's going, and he just doesn't do any stupid things, you know, as he gets older, he could end up being like the mainstream name for both combat sports, actually, if he just does it the right job. So I hope again. He even mentioned it in the press conference. He said there's a lot of sharks out there, so we're going to see what the sharks do. So hopefully Conor can stay away from the sharks and continue success to him and his family.
Yeah. Well, we made it through the other side. The insanity has officially come to an end. We're going to move on to some mixed martial arts in the future and obviously some great boxing matches. Before I get you out of here, Angelo, we mentioned there's a big fight coming up in a few weeks. Who's your pick, Canelo or Triple G?
Yeah, we were just talking about that today, man, brother. That is, you know what, this fight, man, because I know you're excited about this too, but I'm just going to talk, not popularity, I'm going to talk technical aspect of this fight. This could be our 2017 version, ladies and gentlemen, of Sugar Ray Leonard versus Marvin Hagler. The styles are pretty similar in the sense that Golovkin's going to come forward. He hits you with that shotgun jab. He works you to the body. And just like Marvin Hagler says, you know, he's like the Pac-Man, like the video game. He just keeps chomping at you, coming forward. And that's Golovkin. Well, we know that Canelo, with the cinnamon red hair and the flash, you know, he's a little bit like a Sugar Ray Leonard. And we know that he's moving up to the higher weight class here. Canelo really is a 154-pound fighter, so he's moving up to fight the legitimate champion in Golovkin at the higher weight class. So it's a 50-50, my friend, but I am leaning Gennady Golovkin, and I'm leaning Gennady Golovkin late stoppage. I want to say round 10, 11, or 12. But I don't believe Golovkin will take a step back. I think he's coming forward. I think he's going after him the same way Floyd went after Conor. Yeah. So who are you picking? Who are you picking, Damian?
I got Golovkin as well. You know, I think I think that Canelo is a great tactician, and he's really worked on his power punching, and I think he has a lot of skills in this fight. I think if you're looking skill for skill, he matches Golovkin. But then when you add in the size and the power that Golovkin's going to pack in that fight, I think that's the difference. They're both skill for skill, very, very good boxers. They're both very technically sound, but I think when you add in that little extra X factor, so to speak, which is the power. I mean, Golovkin has just got so much power in his punches, so many knockouts to his credit. I think that's going to add up round over round, and I agree with you. It's like you're reading my mind. I think, late into the fight, 10th, 11th round, we could see a stoppage, and I like Golovkin to pull it off.
Yeah, well, I'm really happy that I know a little bit about this stuff, David. So I'm glad you and I agree. That's awesome.
Well, Angelo, it's always a pleasure, my friend. I appreciate you taking the time. I'm sure we'll have you on again soon. But thank you for all your insight before and after the fight. And cannot wait to see how this Canelo Triple G fight unfolds. Obviously, you're going to be working with your fighters coming up, Frank Mir and Juliton, who I spoke to last week. So I'm sure we will speak again in the near future about something maybe a little more mixed martial arts related next time.
Yeah, or maybe you'll be speaking to me about me being a part of the coaching staff of Malignaggi versus McGregor. You never know. You never know with these things.
I love it. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks, my friend.
Bye-bye.
I love that movie, and I love that he did that. That's amazing.
Yeah, pretty cool. I was like, because he asked me, he's like, have you heard this story? I said, no, I've not heard this story. And I was like, there was a reason behind him wearing the ski mask. I thought that was kind of cool.
I love when we find stuff out because, a lot of people were just like, well, it's just a fashion statement. A lot of people are wearing zippers. Like, oh, okay.
I saw Lope came in the studio today wearing a ski mask because he was paying homage to Floyd Mayweather. So.
That's right. I'm just stealing listeners. All of them. And you know what, man? I say I had so much fun watching these fights. There were some cool fights on the undercard too, but like you said, I am so ready to get back to MMA. So
you know what I realized? Watching this entire show, because I really did enjoy it. I did enjoy the whole show. It was
How do you not enjoy it?
Man? It was a fun lead up. It was a fun, the press tour, the world tour, the press conferences, the weigh-ins, the fight. It was all fun. I enjoyed it. Floyd, I enjoyed watching Floyd Mayweather. He is one of the best to ever do it. Conor McGregor obviously is an icon of our sport. But when it was all said and done, after basically covering boxing for the last month. Now, don't get me wrong. I've covered boxing before. I covered Mayweather's last 2 fights. So I've covered boxing. And I really enjoy boxing. I'm super excited to watch Canelo and Triple G. I love boxing. But what I realized over these last month, where it's basically been you and I, for the most part, just talking about this fight.
Yeah.
Focusing on this fight. On the podcast, in my everyday writing, and every day I'm doing. And this sounds stupid and kind of cheesy, but it made me realize how much I love mixed martial arts. Because as much as I enjoyed the boxing side, I missed it. Like when I thought about it this weekend, like I was doing a breakdown for UFC.com for the card this weekend. Now, the card this weekend in Rotterdam is not a great card. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not a great card.
Can I tell you how, like, maybe it's so evident that that's true that if you go on the UFC Fight Pass app that I have, like, if I want to go watch any fights because I'm a subscriber, you go on there and you go to the Volkov Struve. Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, there's exclusive Fight Pass prelims. Oh, those sound fun. Let me just. Oh, the fight card is currently unavailable. Oh, that's okay. Well, let me just see who's on the main card. Oh, the fight card is currently unavailable, and we are 4 days. 3 hours, 59 minutes, and 54 seconds at the current moment.
Yeah. So it's not a great card. But
they don't even want to tell you. That's how not great of a card it is.
But that being said, like there's a fight on the prelims. This guy, Merabak Taisimov, is fighting Felipe Silva. Merabak Taisimov is a killer. 4 knockouts in a row. Nasty knockout artist. Felipe Silva, also a knockout artist.
He's got to get a T-shirt that says "Hit him, Merabak style."
It's just gonna be a fun like slugfest. Now you don't probably know either guy's name. You might know Merabak Taisimov. He's kind of he's a bigger name, I guess, in theory. But that's going to be a fun fight, and I'm looking forward to seeing Struve back in action. Volkov is an interesting prospect. Like it's not a great card. But I'm into it because I'm just excited to see some fights. Like next weekend, we got Demetrius Johnson going for the record against Ray Borg. We got Amanda Nunes and Valentina Shevchenko finally going to fight. Gilbert Melendez against Jeremy Stevens, which is going to be a hell of a good fight.
That's out of nowhere. I love Gilbert Melendez is coming back. And isn't there a little beef in that camp? Wasn't there some back and forth between those?
Not
camps?
Really. We'll have Gilbert on the show next week, so we'll talk to him.
Yeah, let's ask him about that.
But yeah, like like I said, I enjoy boxing. I'm super excited to watch Canelo Triple G. But I just realized over this last month how much I love mixed martial arts, like how much I missed it, how much I missed like being able, I still watch it. It wasn't like I wasn't watching fights, but it's just like, man, I'm just excited to get focused back on what I love the most. And what I love the most is mixed martial arts. Like I'm excited about the card this weekend, even though it's not a good card. I'm just excited to like get back into MMA, like get back into mixed martial arts,
Fuck yeah, Damon. I agree with you, man. I agree. 100%. I like, hey, boxing. You're nice people, but we got to go home. Hey, the dissension of the Irish, just to talk about it one more time. All that video of them like getting to the airport, everybody going crazy, was some of the most fun video I saw all weekend.
Yeah,
like that looked like if that's what Conor McGregor brings to a sport, I wish every sport has a Conor McGregor.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. I was in.
That is so sick, man. People so happy, so just out of their minds to just give money to come to this country and to have the best time ever to watch their athlete win or lose and do it together, like as countrymen. You know, it's a cool thing to see.
When you remember what Dana White used to say about, you know, certain people becoming superstars because they have a country behind him. He always talked about that with Georges St. Pierre.
Right.
Because Canada was always behind Georges St. Pierre. Now, Canada is still very much behind Georges St. Pierre, and I'm sure they're going to be out in full force in November when he fights Michael Bisping. But the Canadian fans, you know, they were never as chaotic as the Irish, and I loved it.
Oh, no, much more reserved.
Like the
sure.
Irish fans, like when I was in New York last year for Conor versus Eddie Alvarez, like when I got out of the weigh-ins, like I'm walking out and I'm walking through just a sea of those tricolored flags, of the Irish flag. And it wasn't even like, it was after the freaking weigh-ins. They're like hanging out in front of Madison Square Garden, like chanting and cheering and like going nuts. And I'm just like, this is amazing to see. Like, I loved it. I was like, this is awesome. Like, this is what you want. This is that kind of crowd you want to follow you around. That's what you said. Like, I root for the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm sorry. I don't know why. But, like, I would love to have that kind of, like, just that kind of fever around a team, the way that Conor brings it out of the Irish fans. Like, and that's what makes Conor, I know it's stealing Dana White's thing, but that's why Dana calls him the unicorn. In a lot of ways, he's right.
Which is kind of weird.
Well, yeah, but it's like
uncomfortable.
he is a unique person. But the way that the fans support him is insane. And you know, no one in sports. I'll go as far as to say this: no one in sports today, no one has a fan base like Conor McGregor. I don't care if you're talking about Cristiano Ronaldo, Yankees, Red Sox.
Wait, are you talking about? You have to talk about like a single player and or just athlete.
No,
period.
I don't think there is a more passionate fan base for a team or a fighter or a person than people are for Conor McGregor.
Living
now.
in Columbus with the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Yes.
Wow, that's quite the statement.
I've been to. I love Ohio State. Now I'm not saying there's not more fans.
No, that's not. I understand.
I'm not
what
saying
you're
there's not more fans.
You're saying passion.
I'm saying just the pure passion, emotion of watching a fight or watching a game. Conor's fans are insane, and I love it.
It's about the passion and the pit and the emotion and the ocean.
Now, I will say I've never been to a European soccer match, so I can't say for sure that maybe that's not a little bit more insane. But from what I've witnessed, Conor's, I love it though. I'm not saying it like in a bad way. I'm saying
World
it
Cup.
like, oh my God though. But like Conor's fans, it's awesome. It's just awesome. Like I remember I was at the weigh-in when Conor fought Dustin Poirier. He wasn't in the main event. He was the third fight down from the card. And the Irish fans were insane.
Where there's more than 10 or more Irish gathered, this song just mysteriously plays. No one knows why.
Oh, so I just love it, man. I love it. If you've never been to a Conor McGregor fight, go at some point because you will. The experience is amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, much like this podcast, the experience is amazing. Now, this experience was not amazing. I was really disappointed in an artist that I followed for a long time, Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
Now on UFC Fight Pass. I find it so weird that Snoop Dogg, it's like no one has ever told him what's appropriate to send out on social media. And I totally understand that up to this point, which is just not one of the best fucking songs ever written. I mean, this is right up there with like Houses of the Holy. Like seriously.
Snoop's iconic.
Mount Rushmore for sure in rock and roll, music, hip hop, whatever you want to say. I mean, Damon, there's a lot of drama right now in the LBC, and it's really tough being Snoop
whole lot of drama. There's a whole lot of drama in the UFC.
Yeah,
and
there
it's
is
kind of hard right now being Snoop D-O-double-G.
Well, is it? Because it sounds like Snoop Dogg zero fucks about anybody's feelings at work, so to speak, because he is doing the commentary with Uriah Faber, and it's going to be real interesting as these guys get together tonight as we're recording this, but as these guys get together to do the commentary for Dana White's Contender Series. I mean, he said some pretty nasty stuff, and let's just hear it because I don't want to repeat any of it.
Let me forewarn you, harsh language. If you're not into it, and some racial stuff in there as well, just be forewarned. It's not nice. So just, I don't want people like blasting this on their stereo and like got kids in the car. And like they hear this language, like not to say we don't use language, but you know what I mean. Like this is pretty out there. So
don't use this language.
Just be forewarned. This is pretty bad.
Yeah. All right.
nigga. The motherfucking champ, nigga. 50-0. Fuck that motherfucking punk-ass McGregor, you bitch. Fuck him. Motherfucking champ, nigga. Yeah, nigga. That's what you get for coming to a motherfucking gang fight with a butter knife, you bitch-ass motherfucker. Fuck you, nigga. Money team, champ, nigga. What a party at, Floyd? Yeah. Hi, honey.
Talk some shit now.
Trying to get some chick in the video, and that's his wife.
50-0, nigga. Hey, McGregor a bad motherfucker, though. I give him his. He got hard. He got hard.
So it's quite. Then he like lights up a blunt at the end, which that's if I had to have a favorite part, that would be my favorite part. But this, when I say I've been a fan of Snoop Dogg for a long time, like I'm so serious, like that Death Row East Coast West Coast thing, loved it.
I was just rocking my Death Row Records t-shirt last week.
So into it, but I cannot ride with you, bro.
Well, listen, here's the thing.
I'm down 21st Street, Long Beach. I get it. I'm there, but I can't go with you here.
I'm all for, like, obviously, as a member of the press, I'm all for freedom of speech. So I'm not, like, damning his speech. Like, you can say whatever the hell you want. Like, you can do whatever you want. But there's a line that you don't cross when it comes to, like, just straight. Like, it's one thing if you are critical of fighters. And that's okay. You can be critical of a fighter. You can say that the guy is not the mentally strongest guy. You can say his wrestling sucks. All those things. That's all fair game because that's an assessment of a person's ability. But when you get into just calling them a bitch, like he called Daniel Cormier that when he cried after losing to John Jones. You know what I mean? Like you're just insulting the people.
But Damon, I don't know if you know it's nothing but a G thing though.
Apparently. But like it's okay to be critical, but then it's another thing. And listen, Snoop can say whatever he wants about the fighters. That's fine, but then don't call the broadcast. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, perfect. That's what I was hoping you were going to get
yeah,
to. I just can't. I can't hear that, man. Like you can't get on there and talk about. Well, first of all, it's not like he's given in-depth analysis to these fights anyway. And there's so many people that are in Hollywood that would. I mean, Freddie Prinze Jr. would be a great addition, but I think it's correct me if I'm wrong, the shock value of having Snoop Dogg on the broadcast, right? Well,
Snoop is funny, though. Like, when he does those videos they release, like when he was breaking down, like, Daniel Cormier and Anthony Johnson's knockouts and stuff.
Right.
They're really funny, and he's got some, like, you're just looking for some, like, everyman kind of attitude. Like, he doesn't know the moves, and he doesn't know all the submissions, but he's just having fun and calling the fights. And they're not, it's not the main broadcast. It's called the Snoopcast, all that kind of stuff. That's all fun, and I enjoy it. And he's funny, and he's a hilarious dude. I'm not faulting any of that. Keep at it. Do it. Have fun. But then don't name call and insult a guy like Daniel Cormier, a legend. And especially now we're finding out about John Jones. Just calling him that word and then saying it to Conor, who went out there, who was a massive underdog. No one thought he had a chance in hell, and he went 10 rounds, almost 10 rounds, one of the greatest fighters of all time.
I wouldn't even say like the N-word, like, you would be offended so much, like.
But it's like just
by that. It was,
no. I'm saying call him bitch. That's what I'm saying.
Bitch.
I'm saying bitch.
Yeah,
like you're calling.
gotcha.
You step into the octagon. You've officially like not. You're no longer that word. And I don't like that word much anyways, because it's been used as like a condescending term for females, which I don't dig. But like, if you step into a ring or an octagon, I don't care what you do or what you do afterwards. You're not that.
Except for Hermes Franca.
You're not that. And like, this dude's like just insulting them for the sake of insulting them. And it's just low. It's just low. And like I said, if he wants to say those things, great. He's not the first, and I'm sure he won't be the last. I'm not offended. I'm not offended like that. I'm not like offended like, oh, you should not say bad things about the fighters. Like, listen, I've said this all the time. If you pay $100 for a ticket and you want to boo a fight, a lot of people disagree with me on this. Boo the fight.
I don't think you should have control of the broadcast and be able to say whatever you want about people like that and slander somebody.
If you're in the broadcast, that's the whole point of this. If you're calling the fights, you're expected to call the fights, even if it's a fun, enjoyable, kind of like off the cuff kind of thing.
Yeah, you can't say somebody's a bitch.
You can't call the fighter.
But hang on a second. Here's the thing, Damon, is like with Snoop Dogg, the weirdest thing happens. Like, have you ever taken it too far? And obviously, we've never taken it this far, but like have you ever taken it too far, like where you're doing something and then like in the middle of it you realize like, oh shit, I am like the crazy person all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Like I've said too much because he walks it back. Like because he walks it back
at the end.
No, he does, and he goes, "Oh, but you know, Connor's cool. You know, man, he got heart. He got heart. You know, but like just a second ago, he's like, I'm gonna kill him. Like you know, like I thought we were right there in the heart of it, and like guns were out, man.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like bad thing. I mean, listen how intense it is in the beginning. You can hear it change.
The motherfucking champ, nigga. 50-0.
He's smiling.
Fuck that
all right, here it goes.
Punk ass McGregor, you bitch. Fuck him. Motherfucking champ, nigga. Yeah, nigga. That's what you get for coming to a motherfucking gang fight with a butter knife. You bitch ass motherfucker.
All right, right after the Lando Lakes comment right there.
Butter knife.
Now he changed. So takes it to the butter. Well, gang fight was like, okay, whoa, where are we right? That was okay. First of all, it was a sporting event because it was like not a gang fight because his dad was there. I don't think it's gang. Talking about Mayweather. I'm gonna hit play again, and right now you're gonna hear where Snoop Dogg realizes, in my mind anyway, that he's taking it too far.
Fuck you, nigga. Money team, champ, nigga.
All right, it changes.
Where the party at, Floyd?
Where the party at?
Yeah. Hi, honey.
Okay, also, this may be a great point, too. I believe that's his wife, and you can't see her face as well as I would like, and the reason I'd like to see it, Mrs. Snoop Dogg's face better, is because I wonder if she's giving him like, are you fucking serious right now?
the cringing
look. We're making some easy cream from the UFC right now. What are you doing right now? Calling everybody a bitch on Instagram, like, and then he changes his tune. Either that or she was giving him eyes about, looking for the party. By the way, complimentary to Snoop Dogg. If this is his house, I feel like he trumped my party. This is a little disappointing looking at this video.
Talk some shit now. I got one more rib left for you.
Did somebody say, I got one more rib now for you? Which is a tremendous way to end that. And then, like I said, at the end, he's smoking. Like it's a 2.5 minute video. You know what? This is somebody that's pieced like a bunch of his Instagram videos together is what it is.
Yeah, but anyways, the point being is he dialed it back at the end.
You hate that, like I'm like, but have you look at his pad? I mean, it looks like a great place to watch the fights. Damn, you got to put up a little shit to watch a great place to watch the fights.
But like I said, he can say whatever he wants. I don't have a problem with him stating his opinion or calling people names. That's fine. I mean, you know, the fighters may take offense to that, and he may not want to run into Daniel Cormier anytime soon. But
you shouldn't be protected, like all kept away from everybody either. Like, you know, you can't. I just feel like you can't go and be an employee of a place that employs athletes, and then you go shit on the athletes.
Well, that would be like
you don't ever see them. You know?
We record our podcast in a radio studio at the studio where you work at.
Right.
And I come in and I do your show every week, and I come in and do the show every week, and I love it and I enjoy it. But that would be like me, you know, on my Instagram account after coming in and this radio station being so good to me. I've been coming on I've been coming on your station for the past 3 years, basically, for me to go on my Instagram account and then just like insult the owner. You know what I mean? Like, this guy, you know, F this mother effer, and he's a bitch, and blah, 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 blah. On my Instagram, even though he's opening the door and allowing me to come in and, you know, go to the studio or using this, you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of the way I take it. Like, you don't shit where you eat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he's calling the fights, he's having fun, and he's funny. He's not a bad, I don't think, it's funny stuff. But then when you get to the point where you're just insulting the people who are making up this sport that you've been welcomed into, like they're welcoming you in, you know what I mean? Like they're saying, welcome to our house. And then that's like someone saying, welcome to my house. You walk in and be like, man, this place is a piece of shit. You know what I mean? Like you're just insulting, and like it didn't sit well with me when he insulted DC, and it doesn't sit well with me that he insulted Connor. And I just don't want to see that on the broadcast anymore. There's other funny people who would call fights who would not be that way, is my point.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's beautiful. I think it's well said, perfect. I think everybody feels the same way. I think everybody wants to love Snoop Dogg.
I love.
He's one of the few people that have made it throughout decades without being corny. I mean, the No Limit stuff was a little questionable. Remember when he had to
Master P
go to the tank? Master P saved him.
Yeah.
Had to take him to Louisiana to get him away from Suge Knight. So Suge Knight didn't kill the shit out of him. Like, are you kidding me? Like Suge Knight, like, yo, dog, Master P. Oh,
No Limit Records. That's a word I haven't heard in a long time.
Mystical was on the track with Snoop Dogg. It's like some of the first times like a lot of people had ever heard Mystical before.
Isn't like half of No Limit Records in jail now? Like,
oh no, dude. What's his name? What was that one guy's name? Got killed from No Limit.
Well, C Murder's in jail.
C Murder, yeah,
he's in jail.
He's in jail, but somebody else got murdered.
And then Mystical just got arrested.
Okay, so here's the thing.
I don't want to get into that whole story because that's pretty bad.
I want to get into it. So I was at a concert that he did 2 weeks before that.
Really?
Yeah, dude. May or may not have smoked with him too. And I didn't think it was going to be that fishy. He turned out to be sketch.
Master P. No Limit Records was huge.
Not Master P. Mystical.
No, I know.
To make sure.
Tell
them
but I'm saying
about.
that whole. I remember Judah because I worked at a record store when that was booming.
Make him say, "Oh,
oh my god!"
Do you remember how big that song was,
dude? Do you remember how big No Limit Records was for like
the Snoop
2
Dogg
years?
stuff on No Limit was interesting because it was like so far away from all the stuff that he was doing with Dre, and that was on.
Yeah.
Well, the end of Death Row was kind of weird, like when he did The Dogfather.
Yeah,
that record was far. Oh, man. I mean, the Doggy Style was far superior. I mean, it was just so crazy, the difference. But Dre didn't have a lot to do with that record.
Yeah.
So you saw the difference. But, yeah, I mean, the No Limit stuff was just even more weird.
We faded into a completely different subject.
Are you kidding me? I think we just picked up tons of listeners.
No Limit Records.
Oh, I want to give you a little Snoop Dogg No Limit before we leave. You want to tease something for next week?
We're going to talk about UFC 215. We're going to have Valentina Shevchenko and Gilbert Melendez on the podcast next week to talk about the event coming up from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada,
Ooh, that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Pop the champagne.
Oh, some Snoop Dogg.
Your body and your soul on a whole little trip.
Is this the No Limit?
Don't lose your grip.
Look how good. Remember how gaudy the album cover was?
Oh, yeah.
Look at that. Remember they all like bling? They all.
Every No Limit album cover looked the same in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Whole sucking dicks. That's how we do it, because everything is in the mix.
It's funny, man. Like Snoop Dogg's still awesome. Like I'm sitting there hating on him. This is amazing.
yeah, just don't insult the fighters.
Yeah, there you go.
Who are the other big No Limit artists? I'm trying to remember who they were. Mystical, C Murder. Was Lil Wayne? Lil Wayne.
No, he was with Baby.
Are you sure?
Yeah, he's always been Cash Money.
Maybe I'm getting Cash Money and No Limit mixed up. That's what.
But that was like New Orleans was on fire.
Yeah.
And then Master P got that show on Nickelodeon. He did with his kid. He had a kid, like a kid's show.
And he did the, didn't he do like a Summer League Pro Ball?
Well, he was, I believe, like almost NBA level player. If I'm not mistaken.
All right, here we go. Master P, Silk the Shocker. I forgot
Silk the effing Shocker is
C
right.
Murder, Mystical.
Yes.
TRU. Remember TRU?
Yeah.
I remember them. Yeah, TRU. Okay. Yeah, so there you go. Mr. Servon. Remember Mr. Servon?
Yeah. But, I mean, the No Limit thing blew up, and he was lucky to get Snoop Dogg.
They were huge.
But then, when Dre released that record, the Chronic, the second Chronic.
Yeah.
What was it called? 90 or 2000, Chronic 2000 or whatever, 2001. That's when he came back.
Mia X was the other one.
Mia. Now we're going deep.
Cain and Abel. Yeah, we've gone completely off the rails now. I'm falling down a rabbit hole thinking about No Limit Records.
Shout out to Big Daddy Kane. All right, you guys have an awesome week, man. We'll be back next week. It's Fight Society. Follow Damon Martin at Damon Martin and myself at Jeremy Loper.